The Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, PURC, has increased electricity tariffs and tariffs for natural gas. The Commission says the increase has become necessary in order to maintain the real value of cost of supply of utility services. Extracts of a statement released by the Commission reads, and let me bring you details of that statement. The Public Utilities Regulatory Commission has concluded the quarterly tariff reviews for the second quarter of 2023 as part of its regulatory mandate. The review has resulted in the Commission approving tariff increases for natural gas and electricity. The quarterly tariff review mechanism seeks to track and incorporate changes in key factors used in determining natural gas and electricity tariffs. These factors are the Ghana cedi US dollar exchange rate, inflation, electricity generation mix, and the weighted average cost of natural gas. The statement continues, this review has become necessary to maintain the real value of cost of supply of the utility services and to ensure that the utility companies do not under or over recover cost. While under recovery has negative implications for the ability of the companies to supply service to consumers and has the potential of causing outages of electricity, over-recovery unnecessarily overburdens consumers of electricity. The quarterly tariff review mechanism is meant to address the above. So it goes on to give the details of the US to Ghana cedi reduction. The first quarter tariff decision resulted in a 25% under recovery of the exchange rate. This has to be recovered in order to ensure that the country does not add to the already mounting debt in the energy sector. The projected exchange rate for the second quarter plus the first quarter under recovery is 12.71118 cedis to the US dollar. With respect to electricity generation mix, the hydrothermal mix used for the second quarter is, we need to scroll up a bit, quarter is 29.01% for hydro and 70.99% for thermal, as against 26.11% for hydro and 73.89% for thermal used for first quarter of 2023. Hydro allocation of 29.01% helped to reduce the impact of changes in the macroeconomic variables and the WACOG on the tariffs. It ends the statement by saying the PURC is very mindful of the current economic circumstances, but notes that the potential for outages, i.e. DUMSO, is high, and this could have strong adverse impact on citizens and businesses. Let's now bring in Kofi Kapito, who is with the Consumer Protection Agency. He joins us with more on this. So, first off, Mr. Kapito, do the reasons provided by the PURC sit down well with you in terms of the potential of us going into an era of DUMSO and having to make up for losses in the first quarter, for which reason some of these increments have taken effect? Are you satisfied with those reasons?
Good morning to you. Good morning to your listeners. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
I find it very, very difficult to accept reasons given by the PURC. Okay, granted, all the reasons are justified. The only thing PURC has refused for consumers of electricity is uninterrupted 24 hours of utility or electricity supply in the country. It is part of their mandate. And I'm very, very disappointed. Anytime, and this is what I keep saying, the only time you hear of the PURC is when they come to tell us about upward increase in electricity or water. The question I keep asking them that, what guarantee are they giving to consumers or customers that they will not suffer? As you and I know, whether they can call it DUMSO, they can call it DUM, they can call it SOSO, is irrelevant. The question is, electricity, if you are going to pay more, should not be interrupted by any means unless it's the act of God, which pertains in the most advanced countries that we all know.
So Mr. Kapito, what is the remedy for us as citizens? Because then again, you're highlighting in that statement, though, what the PURC did highlight was under recovery and over recovery, highlighted to whose benefit each of them is, and did admit that times are hard, but it's saying that we don't want to go into the days of doom. So my question to you is that enough reason why we should have an increment in our electricity tariffs?
It is the mandate of the PURC to review utilities every quarter, as the law permits. It is not only for them to increase upwards; they can increase downwards as well. But I don't know the number of times that you and I has seen utilities going down. My issue is fine. So this increase that they have come to announce, is it going to remedy the outages, the inefficiencies of the utility company? If this increase is going to get rid of that, then hooray! Because if they are doing all these things so that the Ghanaian consumer will not be inconvenienced or be challenged when it comes to electricity, maybe we need to buy the bullet and say fine. But as long as it doesn't remedy that uninterrupted supply of electricity, I have a big challenge with the PURC for increasing it.
Mr.
No matter
Capito,
what reason given.
Thankfully, we have the Director of Research and Corporate Affairs at the PURC joining us, Dr.
Sure.
Eric Obute. Good morning to you, Mr. Obute. Let's start off with the concerns that Mr. Capito raises here. It appears that in your statement, you're almost vouching for electricity producers in the country by suggesting that if we pay more, we are likely averting a doomsday. Currently, we have received concerns, people reporting of unstable power supply in their area. Some actually believe that is a subtle form of load shedding which has not been officialized. But are you in this statement suggesting that we are paying more to receive quality? Should we hold you for that if it doesn't happen?
Thank you very much for having me on the show. The PURC, as noted by Mr. Capito, is mandated by law to undertake a quarterly review of the adjustments in the tariff. Now, these quarterly reviews that we do are based on 4 key factors which we always talk about. One being the fuel price, the other one being the exchange rate variation, and another one being inflation and the one that we talk about, the generation mix between thermal and the hydro. Now, if we take the exchange rate, for instance, the exchange rate variation between the time we did the tariff last quarter and this quarter, the percentage increase is 20.58%. Last time around, we used an exchange rate of 10.54 cedis to the dollar. This time around, the projected exchange rate is 12.71 cedis to the dollar. The weighted average cost of gas, which we call the WACOG, has also shot up from $6.09 per MMBTU to $6.52 per MMBTU. These two factors alone have necessitated an increase, however small it may be. Now, the previous time, we did not take full account of the exchange rate variation. We applied 0.75% of the exchange rate variation. So we had a 25% under recovery of the exchange rate. So that 25%, we have to recoup or we have to claw back from this particular tariff. It's a gradual process. And the 18.36% that we came up with is not the full tariff that we came up with. Knowing pretty well that the economic situations are not too good for everyone.
Doc, sorry to interject, but what informed that exchange rate projection the last time? Why was it at 70? Why was it at 75?
Why was it at 75?
Yes.
No, we did not apply the full exchange rate at the time.
Right.
We did only 75% of the exchange rate. That's what we thought.
And I'm asking what informed that decision?
Just the same economic conditions I'm talking about now.
So why can't you do that now as well?
We have done that. We have done same now. That's what I'm saying. Even with the 18.36, that's just 60% recovery of the tariff. If we had wanted to apply the full 100% recovery of the tariff would have gone up more than 18.36%. So we are mindful of that. That's how come we make sure that we do not apply the full cost of the tariff. Because if you want to do that, the tariff will go through the roof. So it's a gradual thing that we try to recover the tariff over a period of time. So at each point in time, the tariff is lagging. That's the more reason why we are doing this one now. If we don't do the quarterly adjustment, at the time we want to do any adjustment at the end of the period, the tariff will be unbearable.
I appreciate the explanation, but back to my question, Doc. Should we hold the PURC in any way if we pay, not if, because I mean, we will have to pay it anyway, when we pay these adjustment or make up for the adjustment in how much we pay for electricity, and we still do not see the kind of service, as Mr. Capito has referred to, from these utility providers? Should we hold you responsible? Because it appears in your statement that you are vouching more so for the electricity producers and service providers by suggesting that we need to pay more to avoid a possible doomsday.
The PURC has standards, technical benchmarks for the utilities, and we hold the utilities to these benchmarks. We have what we call the KID, that's the Customer Average Duration Interaction Index. That's how long the lights go off, when the lights go off in your area, how long does it take? We have a benchmark for that. We have one which is the SIFI, System Average Interaction Frequency Index, which is how many times within a period does your light go off. So we hold them to all these quality of service standards. And we can only hold them to those standards if maybe we have what we are giving them and we hold them to those particular tasks. And if they are not able to meet those standards, there's a penalty that we adjust from the utility. So we can only say for now that yes, we are hoping that they will do what exactly is expected of them to make sure that the quality of service is maintained.
Right. Why do you say the potential for doomsday is high? What have you seen? What have you observed?
Well, because if you don't have enough revenues to purchase crude, or not crude, but if you don't have enough to purchase gas, most of the plants are now gas-fired plants. If we don't have enough to purchase gas, obviously that means that we have to rest the plant. Resting the plants will mean that there will be a shortfall in power generation. Now, if there's a shortfall in power generation, we all know what follows: load shedding. And the load shedding will be detrimental to both consumers, industry, as well as the government itself, because the government will not get the negative revenue that is also used from those industrial plants.
So as we speak, are you aware if that is happening, the companies are struggling to pay for the gas, or it's something you are projecting to happen?
Well, there's commission gas projections on a quarterly basis. So that projection is what we have.
So as we speak, some of the power producers are struggling to pay for gas to produce electricity. Is that the case?
That is what it is.
I'll come back to you shortly in wrapping up the conversation, but let me get the thoughts of Mr. Kofi Capito. Mr. Capito, you've heard him explain generally what goes into these decisions. I've asked him a couple of follow-up questions. Your thoughts on those?
Can I ask him, does he know what goes on in the decision of the consumer as to how he's going to pay his bills? He's talking about benchmarks. He's talking about standards. Does he know the standard of the consumer, or how they are going to also come up with reasons why it's not acceptable for the increase? Look, in a nutshell, all he's telling us is that they can't guarantee that electricity will not go off. If you listen to him, look, the benchmarks that he is talking about, the technical, the standard that ECG is at now is woeful. ECG is doing technical and commercial losses about 29%. It is awful. He should be ashamed of himself to come and tell me this morning that the technical and commercial losses that ECG.
But Mr. Capito, isn't it true that over the years we haven't paid the right amount for tariffs, utility tariffs? He talks about, for example, an under recovery, the reason why we need to even be paying more to make up for the losses in the first quarter, and that was also because they took into consideration the economic situation at the time, which still is. So, I mean, aren't you being too harsh and unkind to the PURC, which is supposed to be a mediator in this case, not satisfying the consumer alone, but also ensuring that the utility providers also get what is due them?
My point precisely. How many times have they come to ask us to pay more? How many times hasn't electricity gone off in the country? Okay, when we get opportunity to travel outside, we don't complain about electricity because somebody who is in charge makes sure that the electricity stays on. Yes, if in your own wisdom, okay, you think going this percentage is going to be okay for you and the utility and the consumer, why are you giving me excuses? No, this is the problem that I've had with the PURC. Look, Ghana Water is telling us that we should pay. We've agreed. Ghana Water is still doing water, what do we call it, shedding.
Water rationing.
Water rationing. Why? Why are we paying more when the water is being rationed? Reason given was pay so that we can do the job better. And that is the job of the PURC. I'm not against that fact. My only issue is when you tell the consumer to pay more, you should also, because it is their mandate. Let me tell Doctor that it is their mandate also to ensure that the consumer enjoys adequate and quality of service delivery.
Right.
At the moment, the Ghanaian consumer, as anybody, will tell you that they don't enjoy quality and uninterrupted supply of utilities.
Mr. Capito, would have to end it here. I appreciate your time. Kofi Capito is CEO of the Consumer Protection Agency. Let me give you the last word, Doc, because Mr. Capito has said quite a lot directly in reference to you. So in wrapping up, let me just find out from you what activities you undertake to ensure that the consumer is also getting what is due them in terms of the quality of service. Hello, Doc?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Mr. Capito spoke about technical benchmarks, and that ECG was doing technical and commercial losses in the region of 29-30%. Obviously, we do not factor all that loss into the tariff computation. We have our own benchmarks in the commission that we factor in 10% losses in terms of technical and 11% for commercial, making it 21%. So if anything is done beyond that, that will not be passed to the tariff. It's considered as inefficiency. The Commission also holds the utility to account when those standards or the benchmarks I mentioned earlier are not met. And we will also do spot checks and go to the field to see exactly what happens on the field. We do monitoring. We have units that do monitoring. We have regulatory audits that are done on the systems of the utility service providers, all in the field to make sure that we have quality service delivered to the consumer.
Right.
So we are doing our best to make sure that the consumer gets the services that he's paying for. But just as you said, the utility must also be financially sustainable to make sure that they deliver on the services for which they have been mandated.
Grateful for your time. Dr. Eric Obute is Director of Research and Corporate Affairs at the PURC. And the news this morning is that there has been an increment in tariffs for electricity and natural gas. Let's do something.